Good morning, everybody. My name's Joe Broon. I'm the publisher of Housing Digital. Welcome to the Housing Digital Micro Conference on customer experience, tech with a human heart. We've got three really exciting keynotes. Our second keynote presentation of today. We're delighted to welcome Emma Midgley, who is the Director of Integration and Transformation at Johnny Johnson Housing. Emma, over to you. You are free to share your screen.
Thank you very much, and hi everyone. This was for ourselves, customer first. I want to just take you on a bit of a journey that we've been on over the past few years, all centered around doing best what matters most for our customers. So hopefully a lot of the things we've talked about around setting requirements involving customers from the very beginning, and also how you review that on an ongoing basis. So I am going to get to share some information with you that is a little bit hot off the press. Just so a bit of an intro. So I worked for Johnny Johnson Housing. Previously was the Assistant Director of Communications, Change, and all things ICT. So I had comms, projects, you name it. I had it. Johnny Johnson, you will have seen recently in the press, has successfully joined Sanctuary as a subsidiary, and over the next year we'll look to merge into the Sanctuary Group officially. Hence the job title change, because I'll be busy stuck into integration. So that will keep me busy, as well as some of the ongoing projects we've got going on. So Johnny Johnson, over 7,000 residents across kind of northeast, northwest Yorkshire and Derbyshire, with about 5,000 properties. Obviously Johnny Johnson set us up back in 1969, so we're approaching 55 years. And he set us up on the basis that we were there to house armed forces, veterans and their families. So just wanted to give you a bit of background to JJ. And then wanted to really take you through, and I may go through, happy to share these slides, by the way, and ask any more questions. But it was about, probably during the pandemic, we had a few different tracks of stuff going on. We were trying to set up our transformation team. We had something going on to the left around, oh, let's look at our customer experience. Nothing was really kind of joined up. So we kind of put a line in the sand, took a breath, and brought everything together really to deliver customer first. So it was very much about giving customers a stronger voice, more importantly demonstrating that we actually listen when people give us feedback and that we respond where we can. So it was around the summer of 21 we kind of kick-started this customer first program. And what really kick-started that was research that we did. So we surveyed over 700 of our customers. We opened it up to more. We had 700 responses. And it was very much about what was looking at, what mattered most to them. So what we didn't want to do is go, we need this and we're going to go and do this and we're going to do that, without having that validated from customers. Because obviously, what's the point? You're not going to get the adoption and all of that sort of stuff. So we very much went out to customers, what matters most. So how important are things to people? More importantly, those things that matter most, how satisfied were they currently with those things that were delivered by Johnny Johnson? It was a really, really useful exercise. We did it in partnership with a company called The Leadership Factor, and it really helped give us so many gaps and opportunities. Key themes, which weren't surprising: communication, repairs and maintenance. So some of the things that came out weren't anything that we didn't necessarily not know, but it was great just to get that validated in terms of that it's not just our opinion, we're being told that by our customers. So that's kind of where it all came about. This slide is a bit busy, and again, I won't go through this in too much detail, but we really did embark on an 8-week program. We had about 50 different colleagues from across the business, and we're only a proportion of people across all areas of the business, whether that was frontline colleagues, people in tech, people in finance, we had everybody involved. We went through this 8-week program where we took all of that feedback. We mapped kind of what happens currently, what is currently happening, what's the as is, what do we want it to be, what are people telling us they need it to be. We had about 250 plus ideas, which we refined. We got our colleagues to validate it, because I think a really important part, which I'll mention in this, is it's all very well and good having the tech and supporting your customers within that tech, but you actually need to be structured right with it from a colleague perspective, and also make sure your colleagues are into it and brought into it and engaged in that. So we did colleague validation, and we did some colleague design work, because I'll talk to you in a minute. We decided to structure ourselves differently to support a lot of the work we were doing. And then we obviously took that through to customer validation. So again, picking up on the conversation before we built requirements, we built the kind of vision and the strategy to move forward with. We actually then took that to customers and said, is this what you're telling us? Is this right? Have we got this right? And we took through that big program, we took it to board, and obviously that then led on to a number of things, of which I'll talk you through in a moment, because some of those were operating model changes in terms of how we were structured from a colleague perspective. So what that kind of meant for customers is we really looked at how we were structured, particularly from a frontline perspective. So the introduction of specialisms were key for us. So wellbeing experts, who obviously work hand in hand with our alarm receiving centre, Astraline, people who were specialism in wellbeing and looking after our customers and helping our most vulnerable customers get support where they need to. Quality and performance experts, so again, people who are constantly looking at everything that comes through our feedback and engagement and listening and sentiment analysis and all of that stuff, and working on that performance, both from a digital aspect in terms of feedback coming through from surveys, but actually on the ground as well. So how do schemes look? What's the aesthetics like? All of that sort of stuff. Welfare experts were also brought in, and this has been something that's been really beneficial for us, because they're generating something like 250 to 300,000 every 6 months for customers, so really successful. We had moving in and moving on specialists. We went completely tenure neutral across our structure, so it was no longer just independent living, leasehold, general let. Everybody can deal with everything, so that was quite a big shift for us. And more importantly, digital coaches. So if we're going to go on this journey where we give people tech, we need to have people there ready to help our residents get on board and really adopt it. We predominantly have a really high proportion of older residents, so we knew this would be a challenge, and that has been really beneficial for us in terms of helping people. Some other things that we did as well, multi-channel contact handlers. Again, the teams that were answering the calls now do everything. We used to have that quite set up. It was one did lettings, one did income. We've brought everybody together. Customer experience design, where again, we're taking on all that feedback and continuing to evolve those projects and working on new things. Data and insight experts, which again, we've talked about a lot, but that's something we were never quite great at. We're still not, we are getting there slowly, but really using that data to drive decisions. And estate services. So again, something big that came out of the research, but continually working with our contractors to make sure we're getting the right job done, right first time, and customers are happy with that experience. So just want to kind of show you, and I know this is a bit small, so I will share this in just the kind of, this just gives you a high level of the things that have happened. So websites, we've done websites, we've launched portals and new choice-based letting systems, where we had something like 90%. We used to do paper applications, believe it or not. We then went to choice-based lettings, and something like 85% of people did it digital first time without having assistance from ourselves. So again, that just really demonstrates how working with people to set a system up pays off at the back end. You'll see we've done housing management system updates. Well-connected program is a key one in terms of well-being. So that's the replacing of the pull cards. We've gone to a digital approach with tablets. We're on our 6th, 7th rollout of that at the minute from a scheme perspective. That's working really well. We've done digital notice boards rollouts, and they're interactive. So again, that community, that connection and communication from a scheme level and a local level is there. So we've done absolutely, you'll see on here, there's been so many different things that have taken place, new and improved complaints process. So again, there's also things that have happened in the back end from a transformation point of view, but it has a real positive impact in the way complaints are handled, the process and the communication that residents get as well. So many things have taken place, more things are kind of continuing. We've got a bit of a digital blueprint offer that's happening at the minute as we start to align with Sanctuary, which is all about giving people the best available Wi-Fi in all of our communal areas. And that digital work will also continue. So happy to, as I say, share these because I know there's a lot of info on there. So what I wanted to show, this is a little bit hot off the press. So it's all very well doing all of this amazing stuff and embedding it and getting people to be engaged in it. That's perfect. But how do you actually know it's still working and how it's continuing to kind of embed? And more important, that people think it's valuable. So we've just done a piece of work on digital mystery shopping. So 5 key areas. And we've gone out and surveyed people on how easy it was, how was your experience, all of that sort of stuff. That's given us some great recommendations. So you'll see on new tenancies, 73% of people registering for housing found it easy to bid. 40% said it was easy to find a property. So some things have come off that. We've got some more work to do on complaints. You'll see only 25% of our complaints are raised digitally. People like to pick up the phone, and I think there's got to be a bit of a recognition for that. Is some of your traditional methods still stand, and that's fine. It just means that you've got the tech there to kind of push that digital where required. We've moved all of our events from a resident perspective, whether that's in face or online. Registration for those, 100% of people attending are now registering for those online, which is great. Some of our community housing officers may help with some of that, but it is more about just moving people to that channel. So there's been some key recommendations that have come out of it. Most of them, not huge things either. Most of them won't actually cost us any more money, but I did just want to share this today. It's not been widely shared currently, but it does give us some real good insight into how people are moving forward and how people view the digital work we've done, and more importantly, how we can then continue to improve that and really lift that engagement up. We've got about 30% of customers registered on our portal at the minute, and about 75% of new customers that join us every month go straight onto the portal. So we've got some really good stats. I've got more stats to show on the digital engagement stuff. I think this year we've done about 350 helping different residents get engaged and online from a digital perspective. So loads of really good stuff happening, and more things to share on that if I can put you in touch with the right people. And then just to finish, I just wanted to share some top tips. So I think it is important to just keep it simple. Being more digital doesn't mean you have to use every single channel and have all of these different things. You can just take it little bit by bit. Don't underestimate the skills gap in your own organisation. Some of your colleagues in your business will not know how to do certain things and will feel a little bit lacking in confidence. So don't assume everyone is digital in your business as you're rolling it out for customers. And that communication, which we spoke about, is absolutely key. Not just with colleagues, but also with customers. They need to feel engaged if they're going to be your advocates in terms of promotion. And we've talked about using data to drive plans and engagement. And we've talked about linking that comms and engagement plan. But I think also just the final point is just look at what your enablers may be. So what might be stopping your customers or colleagues from doing what you might want them to do? What's kind of not being said. So don't always look at what is feeding back. Try and get underneath it to look at why things might be being said in the way they are. So I know it's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour. I'll stop sharing so I can see everyone again. But thank you for listening. And as I say, happy to pick up in a further discussion.
Thank you, Emma. Much appreciated. If you can just stop your screen share for me, thank you very much, just so I can see if people got their hands raised. Have we got any questions for Emma, please?
I've got a quick one. How was everything that you're doing and have been doing here that you just explained to us? How's that going to be affected by the merger as you merge into Sanctuary? Because I'm presuming they're going to have their own culture, their own things they've been doing. So
yeah, absolutely. And we're in a process at the moment where we're working on our kind of integration plans, and we're having those discussions. I think one thing I will say is, through the whole process of selecting a partner and moving forward with Sanctuary, a lot of these things have been key. We've got similar cultures with similar aspirations, similar projects, and ways that we want to move forward together. So that's been really beneficial. And Sanctuary are also really open, that they're really open to learning from us. So where we have done things really well and they're maybe not quite there yet, they're very open and willing to learn. So actually there are things where we're in discussion where it's always been very much, we will take the best bits from both organisations and bring them together. So I think, we won't win them all, but there will be a number of things that we can absolutely take forward, and that Sanctuary will say, there's no point in us developing that. You've got that. So let's move forward with it and enhance it together. So that's been really positive in all the discussions I've had so far.
Excellent. Have we got more questions for Emma, please?
Oh, hi. Sorry, I put one in the chat. Hi, Emma. That was really interesting. Thank you. I just put the message in the chat. I was just wondering, because does digital connectivity, like full fiber rollouts and the various options that they have, it sounds like encouraging residents to self-serve and everything that we've talked about, which is great. Does that fall under your team's remit as well, or does that sit separately? I'm just curious, do they fall under the same banner? Because it's quite, I guess, important from the residents' point of view to have access to things like full fiber. Are they separate teams, or do they fall within the same strategy, if you like?
So I think because we are relatively small from JJ, if anyone you speak to from Johnny Johnson, we all seem to get involved in various different things. Typically, it would usually sit with assets in terms of obviously makeup of the building and all that kind of consideration in terms of any work required. But we are linked closely in with the IT team that sits under my remit. So those discussions we are currently having at the moment. So we've got our own system that is in from a communal area perspective, but we are working closely at the minute, and we are actually learning a lot from Sanctuary's approach on that particular topic around the full fibre rollout. We were involved in a project with BT, but they've just put that on hold till September because I think they're trying to get more internet providers on board. So it does sit across separate teams because obviously it could have an impact on the building. So assets need to strongly be involved. And it is just about the two, I think, assets and IT working together on that one. But it is a big piece of work that I don't think we've got all the answers to that one. And then when you throw that in with the switch off of PTSN, that just opens up a whole another world of pain.
Yeah,
and
I
things
agree.
to think about.
Thanks, Emma. Appreciate it.
We've got a question from Jane Field.
Yeah, hi Emma. Sorry, I just
Jane.
popped it in the channel. Yeah, really great presentation. I'm just interested what housing management system you guys have.
We use MIS Activate.
All right, okay. That's all it was. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Sure, but sweet. If we haven't got any further questions for Emma, we will move on to Gillian. Have you got a question?
I'm conscious of being on sound because I can hear Joe in the background. He's literally just sat here. It was just while I was listening, really interesting. You mentioned about talking about your inside your organization, and I just wondered, have you come across any reluctance inside your organization sort of suddenly change, or has it been sort of a gradual and sort of how have you dealt with that really? Because that'd be quite interesting, I think.
I think because we'd involved, particularly with customer first, we'd involved so many people so early on, and they were cascading the information throughout the business, that people felt connected and involved to the changes that were coming. So we didn't experience a huge amount of kind of pushback. From a digital perspective, I think we did have some initial, I don't want to tell someone I can't do X, Y, and Z because what does that mean for me and my job? But that was about us just building those relationships and having that really open and transparent communication around, this isn't about testing people and saying, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. This was about helping you and making sure, for our own colleagues, we developed a digital skills library for our own colleagues to use to get their own skills set up. So again, it was just about working with people, but we had to break down a couple of barriers just to get people to say, this is not about assessing where you are. This is about helping you and building on your own skills.
Thank you. Yeah, because I think I've come across that before in other organisations when I've worked for other people before, and it's quite hard to sort of like put your hand up and say, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you, Gillian. And thank you, Emma, for a really insightful presentation. This was the Housing Digital Microconference on customer experience. We heard our first presentation today was from Nick Bush, who's the Independent Customer Committee member at Trent and Dove Housing and also expert practitioner at Hive Mind Network. Nick explored 5 ways to be human when it comes to customer experience, which are connection, community, complaints, commitment and culture. He said something that particularly struck home with me, and it's more about connection rather than just contact. We then heard from Emma Midgley. Emma is the Director of Integration and Transformation at Johnny Johnson Housing, talking about doing best what matters most, salient points, keeping it simple. Don't underestimate the skills gap within your organisation. How important comms are in terms of making sure colleagues are engaged and feel engaged. Building a business partner approach and the effective use of data and enablers within the organisation. And then finally, we heard from Sebastian Weiss, who's director at Place Changes, who are a prop tech startup company who have a digital planning toolkit, talking about embedding a customer focus in planning projects, the benefits of early engagement and being design focused in order to deliver meaningful change for customers, and a place-based approach, making consultation much more meaningful. Just to say thank you to our three keynotes today. Thank you for everyone who attended. Big thank you to everyone involved, and we hope to see you at our next micro conference coming up in a couple of months.